Chronic wasting disease has been a chief concern for the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission since 2016, when it was first discovered in the state. And a new report shows it's still spreading at an alarming rate. For the first time, it's been detected in a deer outside the known management zone. Channel 7's Andrew Mobley spoke with Game and Fish officials and researchers monitoring the disease's spread in northwest Arkansas. Andrew?
The most recent Game and Fish Commission CWD report came out earlier this month, and the results are concerning.
It's a disease that we found in February 2016. We first found it in elk, and then shortly after, just days later, we identified it in whitetail. Both of those animals were identified in Newton County. Since that time, surveillance has increased, and we have found it in over 20 counties.
The most recent CWD report shows an increase in deer testing positive for the disease, up to 236 from 217 last fiscal year.
We identified over 200 positive animals, primarily within our known CWD management zone, but we did have a detection outside of that zone in Craighead County for the first time.
The Game and Fish Commission hasn't been standing idly by. It's been engaged in a long-term CWD research project for several years now in partnership with the University of Georgia.
In 2020, we started a CWD population impact study. It's the largest research project that our agency has ever tackled. It's a $5 million, 5-year research project. And the idea of this project is basically to get our eyes up and looking forward. It's a proactive approach to see what this disease will do to our deer herd in Newton and Searcy counties, where we see the highest prevalence of the disease.
Up on a lonely mountain in Newton County, researcher Lisa George has been monitoring the region's deer population closely.
We capture adults and we put a GPS collar on them. So the bucks have a bigger collar. This gives GPS points periodically, and then it also tracks their activity. So are they sedentary or are they being active in movement? We also have trail cameras out on the land, so even if they don't receive a collar or maybe the collar falls off, we can still track their movements through the unique ID with their ear tags. And so that can track the spread of CWD as well, because when we capture them in hand, we take samples for CWD along with genetics. We're trying to get everything that we can while we have the deer in hand.
CWD has also been called zombie deer disease for the uncanny effect it has on infected animals.
It's a neurologic disease, so some of them may look healthy, but their behavior will be abnormal. They'll be standing just like in the middle of a field during odd hours. You know, deer are usually crepuscular, so they're usually active dawn and dusk, but it'll just be in the middle of the field, or maybe it'll get caught in a fence that it could usually clear, being out near the public when usually it would be hiding in the woods.
There is a concern the disease could spread to humans, but it hasn't happened.
At this time, there's never been a case of chronic wasting disease spilling over into humans, and that's wonderful news, but we know that there's a lot of unknown factors and a lot of research that shows that we don't know exactly whether there is a risk to people or not. And so in general, public health authorities do not recommend consuming animals that have any prion disease, which is why we provide an opportunity for any hunter statewide to have their deer tested for chronic wasting disease.
Particularly unsettling is that there is no cure for chronic wasting disease.
Since there is no cure, it could be a major problem if it does transfer to humans, just because it's not curable.
In response to the spread of CWD, the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission is expanding its CWD management zone, which will have some implications for hunters and the rules they have to follow. Next year, Mississippi, Craighead, and Cleburne County will all be added to the CWD management zone. On your side, I'm Andrew Mobley.
Thank you, Andrew. To see the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission's latest CWD report, you can visit this web story on KATV.com.